Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 74 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, number one podcast in Canada. Didn't get through the first line.
We've even shortened it for you and everything.
The number one podcast in Canada, recorded on Monday. Nope, I'm done. I give up. Today's the Thursday, May the 4th.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you.
Happy Star Wars Day.
Well, all right, I guess Gavin, business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, content provider for Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders, and the host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club.
All right, I'm Marty, hunter and sports shooter and architect of Operation Medusa in Southern Ontario.
How can I follow that? Hey, I'm Sean, father of one, IFSEC IDK 3-man competitor and CCFR regional field officer coordinator.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm your host. I'm a recovering libertarian, competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical.
And we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. You can tell us all about how you too recovered from being libertarian to help Andrew through this terrible, terrible time. The edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. If you leave a 5-star review on iTunes, when you do, in the comment section, put down something you'd like me to drink for an episode.
All right, and you also check out the podcast on Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit patreon.com/CPP to become a Patreon. You can get the uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Now we'll go into my favorite part of the show. What are we drinking? We'll start with Gavin.
I am drinking Gouda Ham and Wurtz again this evening, and Coke Zero as per usual.
All right, and Marty.
I'm also finishing off the bottled alcohol that started on Monday, so Crown Maple and Coke Zero.
Nice. And Sean.
Crown Royal Apple Neat. And then I also have, because I have to go somewhere after this, I've got a orange-infused water that the fiance made, so don't judge.
No judgment. It's important to drink what your fiance gives you.
And it keeps the scurvy away.
That's important. We don't want to catch scurvy.
I don't think I'm going to have problems with that. Have you seen me? I think I'm okay.
I'm drinking Crown Royal Apple and Coke Zero because Sean is a bad influence.
Or a good influence.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But all the teachers said, so.
All right, let's. We have a special Thursday edition of the show. We're talking about a single topic tonight. In 30 minutes or less, let's talk about all of the lies that Harjit Sajjan has told about Op Medusa.
Do we have enough time if we're going to talk about all of them?
But we're trying to keep it to just the Medusa lies, because otherwise it'll be a multi-part episode.
All right, so background on this. Last week, Harjit Sajjan, who is the Liberal Defense Minister, was in India at the Indian Defense Ministry giving a speech and decided that he would take credit for Operation Medusa, which was a Canadian-led offensive during the Battle of Panjwai in Afghanistan in early September 2006. Harjit Sajjan at the time was deployed as a reservist army major working in, from what I understand, a liaison intel role. He was not involved directly in the operation and planning of Operation Medusa, and I don't believe that he had actual combat time that he may have also tried to claim recently. I think that's the background. Am I missing anything?
No, I mean, I guess, previously, when we did a show, well over a year ago now, and they had just appointed these people. I mean, he was probably the one choice that we all kind of agreed with, and
yes,
thought he would be.
He was the least worst cabinet pick in the current government, in my opinion. And I am now reversing that opinion 100%. He is a lying scumbag and needs to resign.
So he's not.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it basically takes everything that he's ever said, you know, and you got to look at it and be like, did that really happen? Right? Like, if he's going to make up a lie this big, what else did he lie about?
Well, okay.
Well,
So, fun fact.
Wait,
I have some of his previous questionable statements, bearing in mind that these all come from conservative defense critics James Bezin. Sajjan claimed that the Iraqis wanted, or at least were accepting, of the withdrawal of the Canadian CF-18s in combat operations against ISIS. Sajjan has previously made misleading statements about the Air Force's capability gap, specifically regarding the CF-18 and the new F-35s. He's also made, we'll call them misleading statements for the purpose of libel. Misleading statements regarding who was responsible for cutting danger pay for Canadian soldiers deployed to operations in Kuwait. This is not the first time that Harjit Sajjan has exaggerated, we'll say. Libel, I can't say made shit up.
But, you know, exaggerated to the point where one might possibly say that, but won't, but might.
I mean, just because a lot of people are probably thinking it.
Yeah.
So, earlier this week, Sajjan had the opportunity in the House of Commons to make apologies for his role. I'm less than satisfied with what happened. Marty, do you have audio from that?
I have so much audio.
Play some audio.
So, okay. So what I did, and I only pulled out some of the questions because, I mean, obviously he was there for a while answering questions over the course of a couple of 2-3 days worth of question periods. I kept circling back to him. So I pulled random questions out. So let's just kind of run through one and we'll comment about them as we go. So let's start off.
For example, in 2015, the minister claimed that General Vance coined the term that he was the architect for his work back in 2006 on Operation Medusa. But that can't be true because General Vance didn't take command in Afghanistan until 2009. Now, the minister's fabrication was no mistake. This was his personal choice. If the Prime Minister lacks a good judgment to fire this minister, will the Defense Minister do the honorable thing and resign?
That's kind of the first one I grabbed. So basically, you would think that his answer will have something to do as whether or not he resigned, or perhaps, you know, defending his comment about claiming that it was Vance that gave him that title and that he didn't just make it up himself. Let's hear what Harjit had to say about that.
Mr. Speaker, as I stated, I would never detract from the great work of our men and women. Our government is focused on making sure that we provide the right care for our troops. That's why the Prime Minister mandated me to conduct a thorough defense policy review, to making sure we do a thorough assessment that our troops can have all the right tools that so they can carry out their mission. That's exactly what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Non-answer.
Not even close to an answer.
We're going to make sure that our troops have the tools that they need. That's that was the answer to, are you going to do the honorable thing and resign?
Yet they cut spending and
yeah, and that's the thing, and you'll see that there's a common theme to his answers as we go through some of these different questions here.
Not just his. He was obviously coached to say that, right? Like,
yeah, and I mean,
you know,
so for any listeners out there, I mean, I listen to a lot of the sort of question periods from our government, and this has been an incredibly frustrating experience as the Liberals took over. Is that there's a canned response to a topic, and regardless of what the question is on the topic, they give the same canned response. This is from Trudeau down through any of the MPs that have been up for questioning. They will not differ their answer depending on the question. As long as it's on that topic, they give the same answer. And it's insulting. It's insulting to the process of the government, and it's insulting to.
it's insulting to us too. Like, you know, we expect answers as citizens, right? And if we're not going to get it, you know, that's pretty severe shit. Like,
Yeah,
what
especially with the
to lie about something like that
especially
in a corporate world? Like, you know, there'd be consequences. You can't just give a canned response and expect to keep your job, right?
Yeah, especially with the majority government. I mean, the question period is the one sort of check that there is to try and hold them to account. Well, do you want to keep going? Another question?
Yeah, lay a couple down.
Does the defense minister have any honor, integrity, or humility left? Will he do the honorable thing and step down?
Any guesses? Is he going to do the honorable thing?
I've got a pretty good guess.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the former general for his service to this country. We continue to work hard. Our government will continue to work hard to making sure our men and women have the right tools, and every single day to making sure that they have the right care, the right tools, and our defense policy review that we have conducted a thorough analysis.
All right, I'm just cutting it off there.
So
again,
not really close.
But that's Facepalm.
Not even close.
Like Gavin's whole expression says it all.
Yeah, like I don't even know where to start. Like, you know, it's ridiculous.
It's also crazy for the government that, I mean, we had the decade of darkness, and then as soon as taking off, have cut $12 billion from the forces budget so far,
including danger pay.
And like the big argument, yeah, and the big argument is we are making sure that they have the correct tools needed. It's like you've cut all funding to give them the tools that they need.
Yeah, he's worded it correct funding, not adequate funding or adequate tools, right? There's a difference.
All right, let's go through another one.
Individuals who had their military records can be court-martialed.
Oh, sorry, I'll stop right here. So this is a French-speaking MP. So you're hearing the voice of the excellent translator that we have in Parliament.
Individuals who had their military records can be court-martialed and face serious consequences. Now, the minister has a seat at the cabinet table, but does he think that he deserves to be treated differently than other soldiers that he served with?
Apparently, yes, he does.
That's a fair question. I mean, if this was a an active duty forces member, and they were to have done what he's done, that's justification for court martial.
Well, but here's the
Good
problem.
Question, and I think that's a fair one that he should be answering.
Oh, completely. But here's the problem, though. When Trudeau was asked if he should be judged the same as everyone else for his transgressions with the marijuana, and he told the story about his dad getting his brother off, what did you expect when, somebody else is in a jam, right? Well, I don't know. It's cool when it's one of our guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. When it's the political elite or the member of the Liberal Party, it has a different set of rules.
Yeah. Just like our other favorite MP.
If a conservative MP
That's how he's going to answer this.
Yeah.
Well,
that's how he's going to answer this question, right? He's going to give us that explanation about does he or does he not deserve the special treatment. So let's hear what he says.
I have the privilege of serving our men and women as in the Canadian Armed Forces as Minister of National Defence. And every single day I will work hard, as I've always done, to making sure that they have all the right tools, the right funding, and the care for them to carry out their missions. And we'll do that every single day.
So the same answer.
Yeah, apparently the right tools don't.
The right tools.
Yeah, the right tools don't include somebody that doesn't lie about their role in certain military operations.
Also, the right tools doesn't answer the question of does he believe that he deserves special treatment and should not be court-martialed or not be reprimanded for his actions.
Maybe they're misspeaking and they're not actually saying like the right tools, and they're actually trying to say a right tool, as in he is a right tool.
He's a left tool.
Well, yes, but
well played, sir.
Anyway, this is reprehensible. Like, this is embarrassing, right? You see all these stolen valor coming out of the States, and those guys, they're damn near getting drawn and quartered in the streets. And it happens here, and our government condones it. Like,
no, this is a distinct lack of nationalism in our country. Our military has been so underfunded and unappreciated for so long that we don't have people that get upset about stolen valor like they do in other countries, like in the U.S.
No. And we're going to go back to right when we entered the NATO pact and we started moving guys into Norway. There's a great YouTube video of I can't recall the reporter, but showing how underfunded these guys are when they're in minus 40-degree weather. They didn't even have winter clothing on, and this is in the 70s, and they're in Norway. We're going to get back to that eventually because our guys are running out of they don't have the proper funding, and they got a clown like this leading the charge, right?
This is not new, though. I mean, Marty already touched on the Decade of Darkness. I was briefly involved in the military following the Decade of Darkness, and I and many people that were in the same time as me learned something that I think still holds true in our military, and that was that we, the unwilling, led by the unknowing, doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We've done so much with so long for so little that we're now qualified to do anything with nothing forever. That's our military today. That's the military that we had in the 70s when we got into the UN when we went to Norway. That's the military during the Decade of Darkness. That was the military when we first had Roto 1 to Afghanistan. That was the military when we had Op Medusa. It's the same today. The military has to do so much with so little for people who don't give a shit. And the defense minister is reprehensible in his action, taking credit for work that he did not do.
Wait,
let's give 13 or 17,000 a year to Ontario poor people, right? Like, when that could be going to the typical soldier, for basic needs,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes our soldiers so good is that they become resourceful because they have to, which is a good thing, but it shouldn't be that way. They should be good because they get proper equipment and training and everything else, not because they've had to be good, because otherwise they're going to die, of starvation or from exposure to the elements because they don't have the right equipment or gear.
Yeah, so there was actually in the question and answer period, I think it was yesterday's, Trudeau basically had made a comment back at Rona Ambrose, saying that, the Conservatives didn't spend that much money in the army either. And she went off on him, which was great. And she's like, I'm happy to put the Conservative record up against the Liberal anytime. It's like, on our last year of office, our forces spending was double that of any of the previous decade of Liberals spending in the forces. When we took over, the Liberals had sent soldiers into Afghanistan wearing green uniforms. We got them new uniforms. We got aircraft, transport aircraft, LAVs, tanks. They went through all the different shit that they had bought over the last sort of 8 years while they were in office. Yes, they essentially the Conservatives, similar to what they did with the gun control type of thing, they kind of went off we're not as bad as them. They didn't really go all out and spending. They didn't really fund them to the level that they needed. And they basically did enough to show that they were different, and that was about it. But they definitely did go above and beyond with whatever the Liberals had done. So it was an odd thing for Trudeau to try and hold over the Conservatives.
Yeah, when I was sitting in the waiting room today, CP24 was on, and I caught her sort of little segment where she went off on that, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, the making fun of the relish green uniforms in the desert was pretty funny, I thought.
Although that camo is sweet, though.
It is.
Awesome.
But you know what works better, though, in the desert? The Cad Pat Arid.
Yeah.
Also just as sweet, but, more color appropriate.
Okay, did we get through? Did we do Harjit's response for the does he deserve special treatment?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so the next one is from Candice Bergen. Let's hear what she had to say.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Defence has a huge credibility problem, and every time he stands up, he digs himself deeper into the credibility hole. He is tarnishing the reputation of the Prime Minister. He is tarnishing the reputation of this government abroad. But worstly, he is tarnishing the reputation of our military. Nobody questions this man's honor and what he did when he served this country in the military. We are questioning his judgment and his honor today. Will he do the right thing for our men and women in uniform and step aside?
We can fill that hole with their big CF-18s. Well, when we whip them
We're not allowed to whip them out, though.
Right? That's right.
We whip out the quote at least.
Whip out our CF-18s and show them how big they are.
Okay, what's his...
All right, let's hear his reply.
As I stated, I would never want to detract any accomplishments from our Canadian Armed Forces. Our government is focused on making sure our men and women in the Canadian Armed Forces have all the necessary tools to making sure that they do their job. Whether it's domestic operations supporting Canadians, or whether it's taking the increased leadership role in NATO, or increasing the fight against Daesh, Mr. Speaker, making sure that they all have the necessary tools, and that's exactly what our government is going to do.
No.
So a non-answer again, and more lies about giving people the right tools.
Yeah, from the Liberal perspective, there's a lot of tools.
Oh, there's definitely.
Yeah, every time
a lot
I
of
look at that
tools.
side of the house, I see a lot of tools.
Yeah, this whole thing is just incredible. I mean, like,
I would like
this is
to know
just
his.
this is just Sajjan. MP, it's Trudeau himself. This is how they answer every single thing. It's the most frustrating thing to see. And remember, these MPs are representing you and I. This is the way they're treating our questions. They're brushing them off, they're blowing them off, they're ignoring them and just giving a canned answer and wasting everybody's time and money.
To be fair, I don't think my MP is representing me or anyone else in my riding, because she doesn't respond to any of the letters I've ever sent her. And I've sent a bunch.
Who's your MP? Call her out.
It's the same one that put forth the M103 motion, so.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're up without a paddle there, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, I got a couple more. So let's jump on. Next, it's also Candice Bergen. It's a follow-up question from her.
Our men and women in uniform try to steal valor and try to take credit for something that they didn't do in the military. There is a consequence in terms of discipline, in terms of the trust that they will have lost with their colleagues. Does the Minister of Defence not understand that he has broke this code of conduct, that he has broke trust? The only fix is for him to step aside, let our men and women in uniform have a leader who they can actually trust today.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
stepping up.
Candice Bergen and Rona Ambrose are actually, and I'll say Mulcair as well.
Michelle Rempel
They're
as well. They're all bad bitches, man, including Mulcair.
He is the bad bitch.
no, there's a few of them that are like they're fucking ruthless in the question and answer. It's great to see. But yeah, from the Conservative side, Candice Bergen and Rona Ambrose, those two women do an awesome job out there from what I've seen. All right, so now, what do you guys think his response to be? Obviously, he's going to have to explain to the forces as to why they should trust him. Correct? Like, I mean, you got to think like you'd want to defend that you like why you're trustworthy, right?
I got a bet for you guys for this next response.
It's about tools.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, I'll buy you. I'll send you all a bottle of Crown Apple if he changes it from the tools. From the tools response, the canned tools response. Does that sound good?
Yeah, you know that I can choose what response that I play, right?
Marty, you're not in though.
And guess what? I'd still lose. Here's the real response, though.
we are focused on making sure we provide all the necessary tools of our Canadian Armed Forces to making sure that they actually have all the necessary tools when we, as a government, ask our folks to send them on important missions, Mr. Speaker. I have a privilege of serving in this national defense. I'm honored to serve our men and women in the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm honored to be able to...
Shut up.
Yeah, he's falling apart. Where's that bit with Trudeau? Play it. Sounds just like him. Oh, that's brutal. Why? Oh, why? Why does he keep doing that? Like, does he not understand what this is doing to him?
What?
Even on a personal level, like he's a guy who served in the military. He's got more balls than I did, right? To go over there. Why? What is he doing?
And you know what? This is why when we went through the sort of the nominations, this is why we were okay with him. We're like, you know what? Military record, he seems to be the one person on the cabinet that is actually qualified for the position that he's doing. We all kind of assumed from a military perspective, that he would be a decent candidate for this role.
That one photo alone,
now we're seeing.
Like him and
you know what the question was at the time? The question at the time was like, how did this guy end up as a liberal?
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, an honorably person. How did he end up as a liberal candidate at all? Like, that was kind of the weird thing of it. And now we just see that he's a lying sack of shit.
Well, okay, so I want to touch on one thing that's about that. So I've got a quote from a retired lieutenant colonel. Lieutenant Colonel Schreiber, who was one of the more knowledgeable people that was actually involved in Operation Medusa. And he has a quote to the National Post last week that Harj the soldier probably would not have said that. Harj the politician did, thinking that he could get away with it. When you're careless with words as a politician, that can hurt you. I disagree with the last part of the quote from the Lieutenant Colonel, but I think he's right. I think as a soldier, Harjit Sajjan was probably decent at his job. I mean, he made major, he was a reservist, he worked for Vancouver PD. He's probably not terrible at those things. But as a Liberal politician in the cabinet, he's going along with the rest of the cabinet. They seem to think that they get a lot of leeway compared to the average Canadian.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe those two are, maybe they're related. Are you good at taking orders? Like that. Maybe that's his. You're a good soldier essentially at that point, and that makes him a good liberal politician.
Yeah, to the party line. Do as you're told. Repeat the line.
He's a great soldier, probably, right? He's towing the BS of the Liberals right now, right? So. You kind of got to give the guy props for that, but considering it's based on a mound of bullshit, like I said before, if this were any corporate scenario, your ass would be 1 foot out the door already before you even got shit canned as soon as you said something like that.
It's not even just the corporate. If he was still active duty, the forces don't allow this bullshit to happen. Yes, you have to follow orders. But, respect and, it's a big respect, dignity is a big thing in the forces. And they wouldn't allow this kind of bullshit to go if he was still active duty.
Yeah. It's like I had some respect for the guy before, like, even though he was the liberal cabinet.
Yeah. Like he seemed like
I still have respect for what he's done.
But here's the, but did he really do all that stuff? Like, given that he's lied about all of this stuff, like, what else does it pull into question, right?
The boy who cried wolf, right? It's now we're questioning it.
Like I legitimately thought the dude was a badass. He designed that gas mask and everything that was able to be used with beards and everything because of his, Sikh background and not being able to shave and all. Like, dude was a legit badass. But now that he's lied about this and such a huge lie and so many other things, like, what else has he lied about? Like, it brings his entire past into question, and until everything gets vetted, you can't really trust anything he did.
There are military records, so I mean there is a certain aspect of it that is, verifiable. And the guy, he did tours. He served in the forces. I respect for everything that he's done. I just don't have respect for who he is today.
No, and what even pissed me off more is the Trudeau response to it. There's a quote, he acknowledged his responsibility and apologized for it. That's what Canadians expect when one makes a mistake. We own up to our mistake. We apologize for it. Yeah. Well, so you say sorry. Like, what, Gavin, if I punched you in the face and said sorry, does that make it okay? Like, no.
No. Like, and that's the thing. Like, so at the very least, as a good soldier, he should, I don't necessarily think he should resign. That would be great. But he should at the very least put himself up to like a military tribunal where they take him to court or whatever and try him. And if they find and they give him whatever disciplinary action, great.
I don't think that this can be handled by a military tribunal. He's not in. He's maybe a Class C reservist that could be recalled to active duty to stand trial. But I don't see anything under the Uniform Code of Military Justice in our country that they could try him for.
Now, Sean, just on the comment that Sean made, that response from Trudeau, I didn't clip those ones because, it would just be too much for one episode. But if you go through, Trudeau basically had to answer a similar set of questions, several, questions about Sajjan and his handling of the situation. And similarly, despite all of the different questions, exactly what Sean said, that was the answer every single time. He made a mistake, he apologized. Canadians expect that people, when they make a mistake, that they would apologize. He's done that. So we're all good now.
No, I'm sorry. When you hold a position of authority in our government, I have to hold you to a higher standard. An apology is not satisfactory.
Exactly. Well, and for Trudeau to say that, and then this minister has served his country in many capacities as a police officer, as a soldier, and now as a minister. Now, this last line is what he has my full confidence. If one of my employees were to pull something like this, they wouldn't have my full confidence. I'd be asinine or naive to even think that I would have full confidence in that. Like, it baffles me what these guys are doing. Like, oh man, I don't know.
This actually gives me tremendous confidence.
We got 2.5 more years of this shit, guys.
Maybe they'll call an election early.
Hopefully.
Maybe we can just heat up my helicopter and go solve the problem tomorrow.
Yeah, get the ground crew ready.
Yeah,
we're going in hot.
Saying physically remove them, so to speak. All right, closing comments before we wrap the show up, guys.
We got one more. Let's run through one more. So this is Rona Ambrose.
Yeah, this is a violation of the honor expected of our men and women in uniform. He's now lost their trust and their respect, and as a result, he simply can't continue in the job that he has. After what he's done, does he really think staying on is the best situation for the troops?
You go, girl.
That was a good question. Yeah, that was a good question. Does he think that him staying on is the best, the best for the troops? Let's hear what he had to say.
Does my bet still stand?
Let's find out.
I was focused on making sure that my responsibility, our government responsibilities, making sure that we look after our troops, making sure they have all the right appropriate tools, the equipment, and that's exactly what our defense policy is doing, Mr. Speaker. Making sure that we have a fully funded, a rigorously costed policy that's going to look out into the next 20 years, a policy that's going to making sure they have all the right tools, to making sure that when we send them out on missions, Mr. Speaker, they have everything that they need. Thank you.
Dear God, man, spare me. This is the title of this episode should be called Facepalm. This is ridiculous.
It's pretty good. I'll go with that. Let's.
So there's six separate questions with the same answer. and I didn't select these ones. Like, I didn't selectively choose these ones because you chose the same answer. There's actually a lot more questions than that, but still the same answer every time.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Canadians deserve better.
A lot better. Our troops deserve
Better than that.
a lot
You're here.
more. Like, I mean, those are the guys that signed the dotted line, putting themselves in harm's way. At the very least, they deserve somebody that's honorable, and he's proven not to be. Right? Like that right there. How, like, if the guy at the top can't be trusted, how is he supposed to inspire the people under him to do the things that they need to do, you know, with shitty equipment? You know,
I
like,
mean, in order to be a person, in order to take orders without question and act on orders without question, you have to trust that the person giving those orders is looking out for your best interests, for one, and that they are acting in a lawful and respectable way. When the guy at the top is a lying sack of shit, how do you take those orders without question and act on them without question? I mean, that it breaks the entire foundation of the military.
yeah. You know, I mean, he's the guy that's supposed to inspire everyone under him. And there's no way that he could inspire anyone, not even the janitor at this point, because, like, who could trust the guy? You know, it's terrible leadership.
But he takes a good picture, Gavin.
I mean, he's no Trudeau, you know, because he's not about to, like, come out of the woods shirtless randomly for selfies, but
He doesn't have as good a hair.
it's
Allegedly.
true. It's true, but I do think he lends a certain appeal to a certain demographic that are looking for more diversity.
I know. Okay. And again, I've made this comment before. And this is the thing with making your cabinet intentionally diversified or intentionally have women and stuff like that, is because of this right here. You sit around going, is this guy qualified? Was this guy the qualified position? Or did he get it because he's a diversity hire? That's the piss off, is if you don't say that you're not mandatorily assigning people based on diversity, and, you know, then you assume that they're there because they're qualified, and people do get jobs because they're qualified. Like, it completely is counterintuitive to the intent. It's just another one of those things where, like, everything the government does achieve the opposite, you know?
At the time, Marty, like, I don't know who else could be a better pick than him at the time, right? Like, who else? Can you think of anybody? Gavin, Andrew?
Yeah, they're all members of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, yes. But for the government who won, the one that shall not be named, you know, who could do it besides him? Nobody at the time, right? He was the perfect pick, right? And now we're all thinking, well, shit. If he can't do it, and he's not an honorable guy, who the fuck else do we got? There's nobody.
No one. There's no one in the Liberal Party that I trust as far as I can probe.
Ralph Goodell, right?
Remember, the party that won was the one that nobody voted for.
Oh, I don't know.
All right, let's wrap it up. I'm gonna have to edit this down.
Edit it down.
Yeah, we're over by 10.
Finish it off.
Is there anything in the shows we need to get through still?
No, I hit on everything I wanted.
Idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots.
Thumbs it up.
All right, plug your social media personalities and we'll do the outro.
All right, I guess you can find me on the Instagram at urbex_GTA or at TKP Nation, and you can also find me on Facebook's at Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders.
Oh, I'll go.
Don?
Hey, you guys can find, oh, sorry, guys. You can find me on the Regina Wildlife Federation Facebook page. We're getting pretty active on there. You can also find me on the Instagram at Heineken44, I think, like the beer, like Heineken44. And also go check out the CCFR. They're doing great things over there, guys.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at EDTactical. I don't know why I keep plugging Twitter. I don't use that. It's dead. I apologize for the very black pilling
Twitter's
episode. This episode made me very sad, but we needed to talk about how it made me sad. Also, how the defense minister touched me. I can show you on the doll.
Right in the fields.
Right in the fields. You can find the podcast, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, or on Facebook, Facebook.com/CanadianPatriotPodcast. And if you want to send us feedback, you can do that, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Remember to let me know how we hurt your feelings. We have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We can't fit anything in on Thursdays because when we do the special Thursday edition of the show, it's a single topic. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I would like to remind you that you are the true north, strong and free.